How far have you gone with the other project, the CUDA project?
I've finished. It's just running like one website because I'm not with the laptop now. So
Okay. One
and
web
I'll
page.
yeah, just one page, and I'll collect the laptop on Friday.
On Friday. Okay. Alright. Were you able to go through the link I sent you on Monday?
Yes, but I've not watched the video.
That means you didn't go through it now. Hmm. I'll try as much as possible to go through it because it's a prerequisite for today's class. So I'm just going to run over a few things. I wouldn't start, I won't jump into coding or anything. I'll just like give you an overview and talk about a few things. So basically we are starting with JavaScript, and the difference between JavaScript and CSS is that CSS is a bit limited and
Mm,
JavaScript is more like function based, right? If you want something to happen when you scroll up, you can see my screen, right?
no.
Okay, let me share my screen right now. Entire screen. Okay. So there are things that occurs when you go to a website. Let me check out a website. Let me check out this website. What website can I use right now? Okay, let's see. Main, mainnet. Okay, let's see main stack. I don't know. I've not seen this website before, but let's see. Okay, okay. So, did you notice anything? Decline cookies. Did you notice anything that happened? Let me reload this website again. Still loading itself. Okay, let me load the website and go through it again. Did you notice anything?
Yes, the transition.
This thing kind of
Yeah,
jumps
the main
in.
stack. It's
Yes. So with something like this, though it can be done with animation, you can also do it with JavaScript. And if you notice this part, okay, this is not doing exactly what I want. Let me see if there's any. Let me see if there's any function that. Okay, I think yes, there is. So if I click here, there is another thing that comes up. I click booking. There's another one that comes up. So this thing, these functions, right? It was achieved using JavaScript. So what basically happens is this on click of probably this div is named invoice, this div is named storefront, and this div is named booking, right? On click
yes,
of any of this, if I click this, you see that there's like a drop and then others disappear. So basically, this is a div named storefront. So when I click on this, this appears. When I click on the invoicing div, this appears on top of this one. So this thing can be achieved using JavaScript. You can't do it with HTML. So I'm going to I think I'm going to save this I'll save this website because I probably would like us to try this thing out. I'm not sure yet, but I would save it for later. So basically, what JavaScript does is just helps you navigate functionalities. When you scroll, what do you want? How do you want your page to react? What interactions do you want to have with your page on click, scroll, when you focus on a particular thing. Like, let me see if there's a place where there's form. There's a form. This website is very slow. Really, really slow. Let me look for something else. Okay, let's check out their login page. This is the US website. Okay. Okay. So on click of this, once you start typing, the placeholder disappears. Though this comes default with input, but it can also be done with JavaScript. That on focus, when this blink is like this, what will I put it? The arrow here, when this arrow is inside of this input environment, let this disappear. These are some of the things that you can do with JavaScript, and there are lots more. There are also websites to get to, that once you log onto the website, they will give you something like a modal. Let me see if I can find a website that has a modal. Let me check this one out. Let me check the services. Yes, exactly. This modal that appears is done with JavaScript. So there are lots of functions that JavaScript helps us achieve in our website. So there are lots of things that we can achieve when we make use of JavaScript, but we will not go into all that today. I just wanted to like give you an idea of what JavaScript does. So basically, just like we have um, index.css, we also have index.js. JS is the JavaScript extension, just like we have HTML extension, PNG for pictures, TXT for text files, different things. For JavaScript, we have JS, right? That's how it's done. So, and we have something like inlines, internal styling. I think we've done something like that where you can have the style tag. Let me create index.j index.html categories class, and then introduction to JavaScript, intro to JavaScript. Okay, so just like we can have a style, an internal styling this way, and then we can add our CSS if we don't want to have an external CSS. The same goes for script tags. Script tags are JavaScript files, so you can write them this way: script, and then write your JavaScript inside of this. This is how script tags are written if you want to write them inside of the same HTML page or web page, yes, or file. So one thing with these scripts tags is that they are the last thing you write inside of a body. If you want to add an external script file, an external JavaScript file, or you want to have an internal JavaScript file, you write every other thing. Every other thing goes into the container. Everything will go into the container. Everything you're writing about the web page will go in there, and the script will come in last. The reason being that the the web page itself is supposed to be ready and complete before the script, whatever is in your script file, happens. It's just like if we log into this web page and this page has not loaded, but this happens. If this happens, this happens because of the script tag, right? And this happens first before this page loads, there will be a problem. But after this page has loaded, other functionalities can then come in when the web page is ready. That is why we add this script tag as the last thing in our body. We don't write it outside the body. We write it as the last thing inside of our body. Then every other HTML element or whatever comes before it. Hope that is clear.
Yes.
Okay. So let's start with just like we have um, HTML elements, we have tags like H1, H2, H3. We don't necessarily have those things in JavaScript. What we have are called variables, right? So basically, variables are like containers. When it comes to JavaScript is more like storage, like storing things and then using whatever value you stored to do something. That's what JavaScript is all about. You store something in a container, then you use the value or whatever you stored in that container to create a function, to tell the website to behave a particular way or to do something. So right now I'm going to have this and I'm going to say this is the format for writing a JavaScript file. You start with the document and okay, document dot write. If I want to like write something, basically document dot write, and what I want to write is okay, I love software program, right? Document dot write, and this should be it inside of our script tag. If I load this page, this is not written with a h1 tag, it's not written with anything, and you can see I love software program, right? It's just like when you want to write HTML. What am I doing? Dot container, for example, and then I have a h tag or a paragraph tag. Let me use a paragraph tag and I say I love cooking. The I love cooking is here and you wrote it using a HTML tag. But in this case, we used a script tag to also write into this same browser. And this page, this white page you're looking at is what we call a document. So this thing is telling it write into this document, write into this HTML document. And what I want you to write is I love software programs, right?
Yes.
So instead of using HTML to write, in this case we made use of script tag. So this document is telling it where it is putting this thing into, where this function is being applied. If I get rid of this document and I say write this, it disappears because it does not understand what this is. So that document is what tells it what to do. So if I go back to, if I inspect this, I want to show you the difference between this and this. What did I write? Cooking. Alright, so let me get this to this point and then move it. Alright, so if we go into our body, we have the container. The container has a HTML element, which is the p tag, and it has I love cooking. But you can see that this thing has the script tag. It does not have any HTML element attached to it. But it's still showing, if you don't inspect this, you won't be able to tell that this was not written with a HTML element. Am I right?
Yes.
You won't be able to tell. This is what JavaScript like basically does for you. So but I won't do whatever I'm doing inside here because this is not the ideal way. Just like it's not ideal to have inline styling, it's not ideal to write script tags except in cases where the script amount of script you want to write is not so much. Probably you just want to write a few things that is going to affect this particular page, then you can do that, but in most cases you can't. So let me create another file and name it probably style.js. You can name it anything you want as far as it has the extension of JS. And then I have my document. Let me do this thing. Document.write. I want to write probably what should I write? Hello world. Hello world. Right? Hello world. Can you see anything here? You can't. The reason being that just the same way we have external CSS, there's something we have to do for that external CSS to show. Do you remember what that is? If we have a HTML file and we have an external CSS file, how do we tell the HTML file to access?
You have to connect it.
You have to connect it using what?
Link.
A link tag, exactly. So in this case, we're not using a link tag, we're using a script tag, if I'll put it that way. So instead of having this, I'll get rid of this and I'll say script. But this time around, I'm going to use this. This is just like when you write link and then this href is like referring to where it's going to. This is like the source. The source and the href are basically doing the same thing. It's telling you where to get the file you're supposed to link. So here, where am I getting this script? What's the source of this script that you're writing? So the source of the script is definitely the style.js. Get rid of this. And you see hello world. So coming back to this, I said that whenever we want to do something in JavaScript, JavaScript is all about variables. It's all about saving something in a container, if I'm going to put it like that. Because JavaScript is a scripting language. HTML is not a scripting language. CSS is not a scripting language. Right? Now, JavaScript is like the base of programming. This is where you like the real deals. Not that you've not been coding all this while, you have definitely. But JavaScript is more like the one that is closer to the computer. Computer languages are written in zeros and ones. They understand binary. That's the same way certain things we write in JavaScript are interpreted or broken down to binary codes or binary language that the laptop, or not laptop, the computer would understand. So then I said, if you get rid of documents, this document is doing something and telling the software running this program, this is what I want you to do. So variables are like containers that is like a space in a software environment that tells the computer, I want you to get this particular amount of space and I want you to save this so value. Is it a number? Is it the name of a person? Is it anything? I want you to save it inside of this container. And for you to be able to locate that container or locate that value, you make use of the name of that value. For example, we have what we call, sorry, 1 minute, excuse me. Okay, I'm back. So when we want to when we work with variables, we have what we call variable declarations and variable initialization. So this is how you comment in JavaScript. We have what we call variable declaration, and then we have what we call variable initialization, right? This is what we call variable initialization and declaration. So for variable declaration, it is basically saying var, this is short form for variable, var name, this is declaration. We have let age, this is variable declaration, and we have const amount. But there's a problem now with this var and let. You can have variable declaration, but with const you can't have variable declaration only. You can have variable initialization. What does variable initialization mean? It means if you create a container, you must give it a value. So let me say the amount I want is 2000. This is what we call a variable initialization. This name there can now be equal to, the name there can now be equal to Jude, or let me use Jane. You can mute your environment. Okay, so what we have here is name. This variable declaration that we have here has been initialized. This is the name of the variable. This is the name. Why am I okay? Let me use something else. Name of student. Yes, let me use name of student, and then I'm going to take this C and I'm going to replace it with this. Okay, so this is the name of the variable. Name of student is the name of the variable, and we're storing something inside it, Jane. This age has been initialized. The age has been initialized to 30. So the difference between variable declaration and variable initialization is you can create a container. It's just like when you bring a bucket, you leave it like without water, you just keep it. That is declaration. You've created that. Okay, let me not use a bucket. For example, if you go to a concert with a friend, right? You've paid for seats. When you get to your seat, your friend and yourself, you sit down, and your friend tells you, oh, keep this seat for me, let me go get something, right? You leave that seat open, but nobody can sit there because your friend has paid for that seat. So at that point, that seat is the container that your friend is going to be in. Your friend is the value, right? So at that point, that seat has been declared. So that is what happens to this. The name of this variable, name of student or age, has been declared. The only thing is that it has no value. Once your friend comes back and sits on that seat, it becomes initialization. Hope that is clear.
Yes.
Okay. So the next thing I would explain is the three keywords. These are called variable keywords. The keywords we have when it comes to variable initialization or declaration are var, let, and const. The difference between these two, var and let, and const, is that const means constant, and constant cannot be declared. It must be initialized. Immediately you're you're buying that seat, you must be there. If you leave, it's going to be taken away from you. So understand it like that. You can't buy a seat and not be in it. So that is the difference between a declaring a variable with this keyword constant. Okay, let me get to setting rules of variable declaration. This is what we call a number, and this is what we call a string. If you notice, let me do something else. Name of student, C, name of student, and I say I want it to be Jacob. Then I say age, C. I want it to be 45. Okay. So if you notice, the numbers, this number, this number, this number, they are written without excuse me, without quotation marks. So anywhere you see this for alphabets, you can't write them without quotation marks. You can't write them this way. This is wrong. This is just like you saying this here, this Jane at this point is no longer a value. It is now a variable name. So if you want to tell this, if you want to initialize, you initialize using for alphabets, you initialize using quotation marks. For numbers, you can write them the way they are, but this is called a string. A string is a set of alphabets, and you can, if you see a string, you can know that it's a string with the quotation marks that it has. That's basically it. Okay, let me know if, do you have any questions yet, or should I continue?
Continue.
If you have any questions, let me know. Okay, so the next thing is, if you notice, so far I've been able to change the value of this name of student here. In the first instance was Jane. I saved it with Jane. Just like your friend bought that seat, but somebody else came to sit down in that seat. You can do that with var or let. When you buy a seat, you can say, okay, I don't want to sit down here anymore. My friend can sit down there. Any other person can sit down there. You can do that when you have var or let, just like in this case that we've used. When it comes to this constant, constant is not flexible. Const, it is not flexible. If you buy a seat, you must sit down there. You cannot change its value anyhow. Let's say, for example, in this case, I say I no longer want this amount to be 2,000. I want it to be 5,000 naira. If we go back to how you're going to see that this thing is wrong is, if we go back to this point, you're going to see an error. This is coming from style.js. This is our index file though, and we are going to see this is coming from style.js on line 10. It says you're assigning to a constant variable. This is line 10. Line 10 means you cannot reassign the same, you cannot reassign a different value to the same variable name when you're using a constant. Is that clear? Just like var and let, you can reassign the values, you can change the name of the person. I can even decide to change this thing. I no longer want it to be a string or an alphabet. I'll say, you know what, I want you to become a number, and I give you 50. It's going to work because I initialized or declared it using var or let. But when you do it using a const keyword, meaning constant, what happens is that you said this is going to be static. It cannot change. The only, if I want to do any other thing using const, I will have to get a different name. Probably I will say const school, the school attended, and I'd say I want it to be university, whatever, university, blah blah blah, right? This is how you can use const. You cannot use the same variable name two times. You can't use it like that. And another thing I even want to let you know is, even though you can change the values inside of these variables, name of students and age, you cannot redeclare it. By redeclaring, I mean if you add let here now, the let keyword, this is going to be wrong. It says name of student has already been declared, line 15. This is line 15, meaning name of student already exists. So this thing cannot be used. Clinton, are you clear? Are you confused? Are you there?
Yes.
Did you
Sorry,
understand?
it's my connection. Yes.
Okay. Did you understand what I just explained so far?
Yes. Yes.
Can you like explain to me what I just said about this let, redeclaring it?
You said you said you said that once you declare it, you can't redeclare it once it has that same name.
Exactly. Thank you. Once you have redeclaring is using a different keyword, be it var, let or const, and you have the same variable name. That is redeclaring. You can't redeclare something using the same variable name. Even if here it was declared with var, even if I use var, it is still going to give me that same error message. Okay, wait. Okay, you can use the same variable name, but redeclaring, if you use a different one, like let me say const is going to tell you it has already been declared. Let would also give you the same thing. So in this case, that is what redeclaring is. So you cannot redeclare using the same variable name and a different constant, but you can say var, because this is the same thing as what is it called, this is the same thing as initialization. I said here I declared it first, and after declaration I initialized it using a different value. At first it was Jane, then I said no, I don't want it to be Jane anymore. I now change it to a number. But there's something I also want you to know. Whenever you're using variable names, just like I taught you, when you're using when you want to give a class name or an ID, I told you to give something descriptive, something that tells you what that container is doing, what something that tells you what that class is doing. This it's the same thing with variables. I cannot say name of student here and give it 50. JavaScript will not throw an error or tell me it's wrong. But if somebody is reading your code and you have name of student, they expect to see somebody's name, not a number. Is that clear? So if I
Yes.
want to see, if I want to name this, I can say, instead of name of students, I can say number of students. And then students. This is right. This is wrong actually. Alright, so this is right now. Number of students, and this works perfectly. So every variable name should be descriptive. It should be very, very descriptive. So I'm just going to state different variable naming rules. Variable naming rules, right? The very first one is A variable name cannot contain spaces. By that I mean, let's say I have let state, or state of origin, yes, state, or just state. Let me use state, and I say, yeah, let me use state of origin. State of origin, and I say I'm from Enugu State. State of origin is an alphabet, so it's a string. Numbers, you can write them without the quotation marks, but for a string you use quotation marks. You can either use double quotes or single quotes. So if you notice, here I use the single quote and here I use the double quote, but the standard though is double quote. So let me make use of double quotes and get rid of this one and get rid of this one. But are you seeing something? There's an error.
Yes.
I gave a space. You're not supposed to give a space whenever you're writing variables. It's wrong. Name of variables are supposed to be written together. And there's something, if you notice, it starts with a small letter, then other words inside of it start with a capital letter. The first word starts with a small letter, just like name here is a word, of here is a word, student is a word. Same thing with state, here is a word, of is a word, origin is a word, name, number, here the same thing, student the same thing. They are words, but the first words, the first words all start with small letter, then other words start with capital letter. This is what we call camel case declaration, or camel case way of writing variable names. That is the standard for JavaScript, except in cases where I have const state. This is a different variable name, even though it has state. This is seen as one word, and this is seen as one word, and I can say just. In this case, if it's just one word, not multiple words, you can write it as small letter. And another one is when you're declaring variable names, you cannot declare starting with a number. Just like probably you want to say Naija, the way we write Naija in our short form. You can't do this because this is starting with a number. You can't declare a variable name starting with a number, but I can have a an alphabet start it, and I'll have a number in between. I can say Naija this way. This is not wrong in JavaScript because an alphabet started it. But once a number starts it, there is a problem. Is that clear? So
Yes.
another one is you cannot say let const. For example, const cannot be your variable name. Var cannot be your variable name. Let can't be your variable name because these are keywords owned by JavaScript. So JavaScript will not let you use them as your variable names. So you can use any other word. There are other ones I can't remember right now, but these three you can't use them as your variable name. As you go on, we'll learn other ones that we can't make use of as well. But for now, these three cannot be your variable name. And by variable names, we mean amount, age, school name, anything can be your variable name. But var, let, and const are keywords owned by JavaScript. You can use them to declare and initialize variables, but they cannot be your variable name. Hope that is clear enough. So
Yes.
another one that we have is we can start our variable name with an underscore. By underscore, I mean this. This is okay. JavaScript accepts this as a letter or an alphabet, if I put it that way. It accepts it. Underscore only. You can't make use of asterisks. It's wrong. You can't make use of curly brackets. It's wrong. You can't make use of plus. It's wrong. You can't make use of minus. It's wrong. There's a difference between minus and underscore. Underscore is the larger one that is down this way. So you can't use plus, you can't use minus, you can't use multiplication, divide, slash, or any of those things to start you can put them in between, but you can't use it to start the name of a variable, or you can't use it to create or as the first letter in the name of a variable. So I can say underscore occupation, and I say teacher. See, this is acceptable. Though most times I don't see the need for this, but there are times when you can decide to put that. And to know if this is actually right or wrong, let me say var occupation, and I say is equal to engineer. This occupation and this occupation, they are not the same thing. This is a letter, so this is a different word and this is a different word because there is this symbol in front of it. That's why it's not going to throw an error. It's not going to tell us that we are redeclaring. But if I say I put this thing here now, you see that we don't have any error yet in our console. Let me put this here. Boom. Occupation has already been declared, and the error is even there. Can you see it? So you cannot use the same variable names, but this is different because this underscore is not there. So that's the difference between the two. Okay. Another thing, there's something I said that is wrong. What I said is you can use asterisks or plus or minus in between. You actually can't. You can't start it. You can't start a variable name with plus or minus or asterisk, and you can't write it in between either. So you cannot. A variable name should not contain asterisk, minus, plus, all those special characters. So, and
Then
I
after you add an underscore, can you add a number?
okay, let's see. Underscore this 0, or let me use 1 instead. Occupation. And we have no issue. This is right. As far as there's something that is acceptable in front, you can use a number in between. Do you get?
Okay.
So, and you're going to say, all these things that we've been doing, we've been checking the values here. Yes, with JavaScript does not really always display here. Most times you will not be seeing values that you've written, all these things, you'll not be seeing them showing on your screen, except in these few cases where I say document dot write, all of these things. Most times you view whatever you've done using what we call your console. How do you get to your console? You right click on your device or your web page or your tab. You right click, you go to what we call inspect. When you get to inspect, it takes you to element. This element shows the HTML part. This is the HTML part. So this is this file. It shows you everything inside of this file. This is what this element does. If I open this now, you can see everything we have in here. You can see it here. This is basically what it does. But for JavaScript and other scripting languages, Python, React, Node.js, all of these things, we use what we call console. So in a case where I want to see this thing in this place, I can say console.log, and then I write the name of the variable. This is where that accessing comes. If I want to access this value teacher, I won't write this teacher here. I will write the container, name of the container carrying this value. And when I say console it for me, I'll say console.log occupation. And when I go back, I'll see teacher. It gives you the value of what you've logged to the console. This is where I see teacher. If I say I want to add another one, state, we have just by the side. If I don't want to do it like that, I can come down here and say console.log, and I can say state of origin, and I can get rid of this state. I can also say this state should be here, and they'll all line up this way. Do you get? This is telling you where you can find this in style.js, because I'm using style.js. If I change this now, let me change this name and say rename index.js. I go back here to link it and I say index.js. You see that it's now showing index.js. So that's it for today. Do you have any question?
So far, no.
Alright, go through this video. Your assignment will be to declare 5 variables and initialize 5 variables. And I want you to log their answers to the console. Choose any random variables. You can hear me, right? Okay. That will be all for today.